With a new year comes new aims, new goals and new optimism. But the immediate aims of Charlton Athletic haven't changed. We need to get back to winning ways and fast, or come the end of the season we will very much be involved in a relegation scrap. 2023 starts with a trip to Portsmouth, and as the Charlton fans left Pompey last season, they sang "We always win at Fratton Park." Incredibly, we have won all of our last 6 visits to the South Coast club, and if we can make that 7 in a row this afternoon, then it would arguably be the most important of the lot. Danny Cowley's Pompey are currently 10th in League One. They led twice against promotion-chasing Ipswich in midweek, but couldn't hang on to take maximum points, meaning they, like us, are winless in 8 league matches. Lots to get through ahead of kick-off in Hampshire. Here's a taster of what is to come. As always, we'll hear from manager Dean Holden, who spoke to Terry Smith shortly after arriving at Fratton Park earlier this afternoon. December was a very disappointing month, but there were a couple of bright sparks. We'll be announcing the contenders for the club's Player of the Month award, presented by Castor, and we'll be looking back at Thursday's disappointing result against Oxford United. Well, the January transfer window is open, but there's no new signings here in Charlton TV. Delighted to say, got my tried and trusted alongside me, Brownie and Curbs. And Curbs, first, I've got to come to you. I mean, very happy to see you back to full fitness. Or are you full fitness? I've just about made the bench. I don't think I'll be going on. I'll be like Brownie. Oh, don't put me on, don't put me on, don't put me on.
Oh, I was the opposite. I'm just in front of him. Come on, geez, I get a double appearance.
You're on your appearance bonus, yeah. I mean, were you actually ill, or did you just want Christmas off?
Oh,
no, I have to say, because you missed out on the trip to Bruges, didn't you?
I missed out on the trip to Bruges, missed out with a day out with you boys. I missed out with a day out with my brother. Missed out with a day out with Axis Europe, the Hazy brothers.
It's a big one to miss.
Oh, no. But I survived. I might not have survived that one, but and I've not really.
You're still alive now, anyway.
Not really enjoyed Christmas at all.
No. Actually, just touching on Bruges, Scotty Parker.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Surprised?
Very. Yeah, you know, he's got wife and kids sat back in, near Chelsea's training ground, and he's got a 15-year-old down to about an 8-year-old. I don't know the exact age of his kids, but yeah, I'm surprised because they're going to have to stay. There's no way he's uprooting them, is there, and taking them over there. No. So it's one of those ones where it's going to be a lonely old time for him.
It's a strange one. Alan Pardew's been doing something similar, going out of Greece and whatever. I'm sure there must have been a job here for Scott at some stage.
Well, look, he was
2 promotions.
He was linked with Norwich as well, wasn't he? And a lot of Norwich fans wanted him. But anyway, we're not talking about Scotty. I still want to keep on about you, Curbs.
Right, okay.
I have to say, it's good to see him back, isn't he? And his voice might be dodgy right now, but I can see the spark back now, can't you?
Yeah, he's not coming angry, isn't he?
Well, yeah. It's the position we find ourselves in.
I thought I'd scored an own goal or something when he came in.
As I was driving in, I don't want to talk too much about it
today.
Yeah.
As I was driving in, like thinking the club, where the club's at the moment, new manager come in, new management team come in. Is Thomas trying to sell the club? Does he want to keep the club? I mean, the fans have been through the mill, I think, the last 4 or 5 years. We just need something just to settle down and a bit of certainty. So hopefully that will come in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
OK, I was going to ask about the sort of your own personal New Year's resolutions, but Charlton might be involved in that. Have you made any new ones, whether it's personally or professionally?
Just to try and wake up every morning, I think.
Breathing and
How many weeks you got left now, Curbs?
1,000 weeks ago.
No, it's not 1,000. You said 1,000 about a year ago.
I've got 1,000 weeks.
950 you're down to.
Yeah, I might have lost a week. I might have lost a couple of weeks this week.
Yeah, but you could have lost even more if you'd have been out on the Axis one and without us before Christmas as well. Look, I mean, to both of you now as well, though, I have to say both ourselves and Portsmouth are in a poor vein of form. Neither of us have won for 10 weeks. So how crucial is a victory for today for both clubs?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say more so for us because they hold a better league position, had a much better start to the season. We're bang in trouble in terms of where we are, 3 points off relegation. Our away forms, for want of a better word, is abysmal. 1 win in 11, drawn 5, lost 5. So I'd say it's imperative we get back to winning ways. You said at the start of the show, we have to find a way to win a game just to relieve the anguish, I think, that's starting to build around the football club.
I think the biggest problem we've got at the moment, and I had it when I went into West Ham, middle of December, is learning about your players while you're trying to win matches. You know, you can go in pre-season, have them pre-season games, get beat here, get beat there, but assess the squad you've got. Dean's in a position now, he's assessing the squad, trying to win games, and we ain't winning. It's very, very difficult, and he's got a bit of a job on his hands, I think.
He certainly has, and he's made a lot of changes again today. Come on to that in just a second. But final one in this segment. Oh, look, we won 6 in a row at Fratton Park, and that started all the way back in 2005. Do you, or did you, ever believe in sort of lucky grounds?
Not particularly. You know, there's certain grounds that you think... Well,
I personally wasn't superstitious or anything like that. But
there's certain grounds, let's be honest, Anfield, Old Trafford and them sort of places that you've got to think about that. But no, not really. But obviously 2005, I'd have been involved in that one. So, yeah, I think because it's like a local derby, we're going to have a lot of fans there today, which I'm hoping they get behind the team. And we respond.
Yeah, I think when I was here for that long period, we really struggled at Sheffield United away. We really struggled at Burnley away. There were 2 places I don't think ever picked up a result here. Went to Reading, won both. Beat Burnley at Burnley, beat Sheffield at Sheffield. Portsmouth, on the other hand, I don't ever remember losing. Don't remember going down there in one of your teams and losing. But I'm not superstitious like you, but there are certain grounds for certain clubs that there are periods where you just can't seem to buy a win, and others you can just go and win at. It's weird. It is weird, but I'm like you. I don't read into that. I don't think, oh, we're going to Sheffield, so we're going to lose. Go up to Sheffield and you want to win, but we never seem to do it. Millwall's another one. Our record against Millwall's dire.
Yeah, we played that one, didn't we?
Yeah, well, yeah. I was speaking to Mike of mine last night, actually, by FaceTime, about 3 a.m. this morning, and he was the last keeper to win. Last keeper at
Millwall?
Yeah, at Millwall, yeah. And what's that, 1994 or something? 5. Incredible.
Good to see you're really professional, 3 o'clock, and still up, despite it. I don't care whether it's New Year's Eve. You're working the next day. Be professional, Stevie Brownie. Come on.
I'm here. I'm coherent. I'm not slurring.
Yeah. And you don't want to smell the alcohol in his breath.
Teeth are in.
No, I'm joking. Look, let's move on. We're over already, Brownie. You'd be pleased to hear. Let's hear from the gaffer, shall we? Dean Holden, who spoke to Terry Smith.
Dean, here at Fratton Park. 7 changes to the starting lineup to the one that sadly lost away at Oxford. What are your thoughts behind that?
Well, it's a mixture of a couple of things, really. There's a couple of players that weren't quite ready to play the other night that come in, and we needed to make some changes after that first half performance against Oxford. We got a reaction in the second half, and that's why the front 3 that's starting today will come in from the start today.
And you mentioned about the performance against Oxford. Is this lineup specifically about that, or also about what Portsmouth can bring against us?
It's about us finding our best form to go and take on Portsmouth and go and come home with the 3 points. It's really simple as that. Of course, as I say, every week we look at the opposition's strengths, but you know, this team, I feel, gives us good energy in midfield. We needed to freshen it up in there. 3 games in 6 days, and as I say, that front 3, you know, if we can get the ball to them and we can expose the centre backs of Portsmouth, then I feel we've got a real chance.
Another change to the squad is the great news that Chukwuemeka has travelled and is in the squad. You said when we spoke before that it wasn't a muscular injury, so great news that he's recovered.
Yeah, the scan was really positive, as I say, and Chuks has had a good couple of days training, good couple of conversations with him over the last few days, and he feels good and ready to come from the bench. He's not done really any training at all, apart from the last day or 2 since when he came off so quickly in that Brighton game. So we needed to make sure we got that right. He's fit now, he's ready, and he's hell of a player to come off the bench. And Chinny's not able to be with us today. He got a ball in the face the other night, and he's picked up a bit of something in and around his eye that needs sort of further investigation. Nothing too serious, but can't be available today.
You're up against a side, I mean, we haven't won, I think, in 8 now. Portsmouth have got similar issues, so it's 2 sides really looking for the win. So both sides are going to be at it this afternoon.
Well, we have to be. There's no doubt about that, and I'm sure this home crowd will make sure that they get their team going. Played really well the other night against Ipswich, and obviously conceded late to draw 2-2. So we know what's in front of us today. It's a brilliant game. New Year's Day will bring a good following ourselves, and it's a hell of a place to come and play your football. So nice tight pitch, and we have to make sure that we get it right from the first whistle today, as opposed to the last couple of games where we've performed better in the second half.
Thanks for talking to us, Dean. Good luck today.
Yeah, so 7 changes in total. Started the last game with 3 at the back, finished it with a 4. Looks like it's going to be a 4-3-3 now as well. Chin, Thomas, Lavelle, Payne, Henry, Carnu, Stockley out. Sessegnon, Innes, Morgan, Frazier, Rexaki, Blackett-Taylor and Leeburn all in. And that looks a very good side, doesn't it, Brownie?
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest with you, after the other night he could have made as many changes as he wanted and nobody could have complained about being in or being out, to be honest with you. So I quite like the fact he's gone with that front 3. I thought they looked quite strong in the second half. But let's be honest, it's time to deliver. You know, we've sat here many times, Scotty, and you've gone that side looks strong or the bench looks strong. We've got people back to fitness, and they've not delivered. And it's time to stand up, be counted, be strong. You know, I don't care how they get the result today. Got to be honest, I really don't care. But just don't roll over. You know, be in the game, be in the fight.
Looks a very mobile team. You know, with Claire and Sessegnon bombing on, Razaki and Blackett-Taylor. I mean, we talk about Chucks and his injury problems, and Blackett-Taylor's in the same mode, isn't he? And when he plays, he gives us something different.
He does.
And what he did in midweek, he came on, didn't he, and changed it a little bit. So let's hope that front 3 can get us off to a good start.
Yeah, I think it's young, it's inexperienced, but it's raw and it's talented. So hopefully they can take the shackles off and see what happens. And again, Curbs, you know, we always look at the bench as well, don't we? It's a strong bench.
Absolutely, yeah. Very strong bench. But as I said about Dean earlier on, it's very difficult learning about your players while you're trying to win games. And that's the problem we've got at the moment. And, you know, he's made these amount of changes. If we don't get a result, I'm sure there'll be another load of changes.
Well, he's got to be careful of that, hasn't he?
He has. And, you know, we was talking about Scotty Parker there earlier. That when he took over in Fulham, I did have a chat with him, and I said, the quicker you can get a settled 11, the better off you're going to be. The players know where they stand, etc., etc. But finding that settled 11 is the results thing. So let's hope we can get a result today. And if he's happy with that, Dean, it's a similar side against Lincoln, etc.
We haven't found a settled side.
No.
Not since Nigel Adkins. And even, well, you know, before Nigel. Nigel come in at the back end of that season, that side was settled. We made our changes in the summer. From that summer, I don't think we've ever had a settled side. I really don't.
We need a positive result today. If not a victory, then certainly a draw, because it doesn't look very well where we are in the league table. Let's have a look at the bottom half, because that is where we are, in 18th position after defeat against Oxford, just 3 points above the relegation zone. Cambridge were beaten 1-0 at Derby on Friday night. Huge win for Morecambe on Thursdays. They beat Accrington 2-0. That defeat for Accrington, combined with Burton's win away at Forest Green, means that they dropped into the relegation zone and were leapfrogged by Burton. That's the first time Burton had been outside of the relegation zone all season. Quick one to you, Curbs, because we were talking about it at the Oxford game. Are we in a relegation scrap?
I think we are. And the sooner we realise that, the better we're going to be, I think. I'm going to go the other way thinking that goal difference is worth a point. You've got to be looking at things like that now, you know. So, yeah, we are going to be in a scrap unless we can put 3 or 4 results together.
I totally agree. At this moment in time, we are in a relegation fight. OK, let's have a look at the top half now then, shall we? And leaders Plymouth ground out a very important victory over Wycombe on Thursday to stay top. That was their 16th league win of the season. Ipswich dropped points at Portsmouth, as we said a little earlier. That allowed Sheffield Wednesday to move level on points with them, who beat Port Vale 2-0 at Hillsborough. Barnsley in 4th made it 6 wins from 7. Below them, Peterborough returned to winning ways by overcoming MK Dons. That was their first league win in 2 months. As I said a few moments ago, today's opponents, Portsmouth, find themselves in 10th. They were 5th after their last league victory, which came against Forest Green on October the 22nd. Since then, picked up just 6 points from a possible 32. That was also the date of our last victory, which came away at Shrewsbury, and we were 7th after that win. Look, we can't dress it up, can we? It's a bad run we're on at the moment, but there are other clubs on winless runs, and we just mentioned Peterborough getting back to winning ways. It's a horrible thing to be in a rut, Curbs. Should we be in the rut in terms of the League One? We talk about some big teams down there, but what about the quality of League One? Or, you know, what did you used to do when you were in a bad run back in the day?
Well, I think you've got to concentrate, firstly, on not letting goals in. I know it sounds negative, but, you know, if you're in a position where you let a goal in and you think you're not going to get anything from that game, you know, it just goes through the team, goes through the fans. A clean sheet won't go amiss.
It's the Bobby Robson line, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think you've got to start at the back. It's the easiest thing to start with. Defending.
It's not
you know,
easy.
defending.
Just explain what Bobby Robson said to you, for those who don't know.
Well, Bobby Robson was talking. We was having
Sir
a chat.
Bobby Robson.
Sir Bobby Robson was having a chat, and he said Mick McCarthy. I know Mick won't mind me mentioning this. He said Mick McCarthy has gone 10 games without winning at Sunderland. What would you do in the next game? And I thought, oh, so Bobby's asked me a bit of a question here. And before I could answer, he said, I'll play 11 defenders and I won't get beaten the next one. He said, because you've got to stop the rot. You've got to. And looking at the side today, both of us have just said, oh, blimey, it looks attacking.
It does look attacking.
Very attacking.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can go that way and hopefully we get the result. But I was the other side. I would have been a little bit more negative, but, you know, what do you do? Dean's come in, he's seen us, he's watched us against Brighton, where we put up a fantastic defensive display. Then he's come in and got involved, and Peterborough not gone so well, and then not seen a performance against Oxford. So he's thinking, blimey, where do we go from
Seen
here?
it all.
Makes all these changes, and we've looked at that side that is starting today, going, oh, that looks good, going forward. Is that going to be, is that going to be our downfall?
We shall see. 8 other games in Sky Bet League One this afternoon, with another 4 being played tomorrow. Unfortunately, we need to concern ourselves with the games towards the bottom. There's a big one between Morecambe and Burton today, and a win for Morecambe could take them to 1 point of safety. Forest Green welcome Port Vale to the New Lawn Stadium, while leaders Plymouth host MK Dons at Home Park. Towards the top of the table, playoff contenders Peterborough and Wickham go head-to-head. Look, we've got 5 league wins to our name this season. Only Morecambe have less. On the flip side of that, we've lost the same or fewer games than 8 clubs above us in the table. Does that suggest we're not that far away, or we can be difficult to beat, or we just need to find a way to start winning games to put us away?
Well, like I said, we've had opportunities in the last 2 home games at 1-0 to go 2-0, and we've missed them, and we've come out of a point, not 6. And if you put 5 points onto that tally, we're not having the discussions we're having, or we're certainly not thinking we're in as dire a position as we are. So there's been moments in both those home games where you could have extended the lead, and we didn't. And that's why we're talking the way we are.
Too many draws.
We don't, in my opinion, we don't make the most of the positions we find ourselves in matches. You know, we're a little bit, I think wasteful's a wrong word, but we're not clinical, basically. And we're not clinical, and sadly, we're not strong enough to defend a 1-goal lead. And that's where, you know, you've just said it, that's what I'd concentrate on. I'd concentrate on making sure that when we get a lead, we're a little bit harder to break down. We're vulnerable from set pieces. You've got a side there that is attacking, but that can drop into a 4-5-1, no problem. You can leave Miles isolated, Miles can hold the ball up, but those 2 wingers can tuck back in and make a 4-5-1, no problem. You know, they can be really hard to break down. I don't even think it was tactical, Brighton. I just think that was a natural reaction to being outplayed. If you're being outplayed and you don't quite know who to mark, you drop into a really solid defensive shape, and we played it really well. You know, but the other thing I think I said the other night was, and you all appreciate this, you need time to work with a team. And it's coming at a period where you've got no time to work with a team. It's game, day, game. And that's tough. That is tough, especially when you're trying to learn on the job.
And the results.
Yeah, absolutely. It's only Plymouth, Sheffield Wednesday and Burton that have taken maximum points over a Christmas period. I mean, can it be extremely positive, or can it also be extremely negative, those games coming thick and fast? Pick up the points, everything looks great in a short space of time, but if you go from game to game,
it's all about results,
not
isn't it?
winning. Yeah.
It's all about
How
results.
important is that Christmas period?
If we'd have beat Peterborough here, may have been a different performance at Oxford, but it's all about results. And if we get the result today, Dean might be saying, I've only got a couple more days before the next game. He can't wait. If we don't get the result, then, I like to work with the players. So you can't have it always. I just think that when I saw that league table there, I keep going back to half full and half empty and all that sort of thing. we're still only 10 points off. And that's what you've been saying for the last 2 months.
I said it the other day, actually.
Yeah,
but
the last 2 months has been saying, and we're 10 points off the playoffs.
Listen,
and we are.
We're a decent run away from being close-ish. But at this moment in time, we've got to have our relegation scrap head on. It's as simple as that.
But to get anywhere near, we've got to put 4 or 5 games together.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the moment, go on.
Well, it just tells you about this league, because we've had 2 runs of no wins in 9. And we're talking about going on a run. It's difficult to visualise a run at this moment in time because of how the performances have been. But if he finds the right balance, if he finds the right team, as we all know, you just get one step at a time. And then if you get on a little bit of a run and that team's got a bit of confidence, morale changes, the crowd get on, is positive.
What was it, 12 straight wins at the second half of the season back in the day? That would be nice.
Do you know that was really coincidental, those 12 straight wins?
You were out
back in the team. No, back in the team for the first one. Yeah, you can't put me down. I got back in the team for the Huddersfield away.
On that note, we'll move swiftly on. Let's get to club news updates, shall we? And start with ticketing news. Fans are reminded that half-season tickets are on sale and they became active from Boxing Day. Prices start at just £160 for adults. And you can get yours now by heading to booking.cafc.co.uk. If you get one before our next home fixture, which is against Lincoln, Saturday, January the 7th, then you'll gain access to our final 11 regular home league games of the season. So that £160 cost breaks down to just £14.55 per match. Sticking with ticketing and match day prices for league games at the Valley will now remain at the reduced rate for the remainder of the season. The new prices, which came out through consultation with fan advisors Lucy Bishop and Lewis Catt, saw adult Zone 1 and Zone 2 prices recently reduced by £4 per ticket, while Zone 3 prices now start at £23. And you can get tickets for all of our league games up until the end of January by heading to booking.cafc.co.uk. Lastly, on the ticketing, I can now confirm that 1,800 tickets have been sold for our trip to Manchester United in the quarter-final of the Carabao Cup. Tickets are currently on sale to fans with 520 loyalty points or to fans with 480 loyalty points who are also Valley Gold members. Restrictions drop to fans with 480 loyalty points only at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. I have to say that the tickets office will be open tomorrow for in-person visitors and callers, despite it being a bank holiday. To get your tickets, just head to booking.cafc.co.uk or go in person tomorrow. Fans are reminded that today's game against Portsmouth is the final weekend fixture that can be streamed worldwide on Charlton TV, including the UK and Ireland, before the EFL's broadcast restrictions return to normal. Since the start of the FIFA World Cup in November, all of the club's league matches have been available to live stream worldwide. After today's game, UEFA's Article 48 will be reimposed. This means that Saturday matches will only be available to live stream outside of the UK and Ireland, while midweek league matches will remain available to live stream worldwide, including the UK and Ireland. To get a match pass for today's game, please visit cafc.co.uk. Our next home game against Lincoln will be the club's annual memorial game. This is the fixture where supporters are invited to remember any friends, family members or former players or staff members who have passed away in the last 12 months. Ahead of kick-off, a period of silence will be observed and a list of names of people who have passed away will scroll down the Valley's big screen. If you'd like to submit a name to feature on the big screen, then please email it to memorial@cafc.co.uk as soon as you can. Right, moving on now. Defender Ryan Innes recently took the time to visit teams competing in the EFL Girls' Cup, which was hosted by the Charlton Athletic Community Trust. Here's how he got on.
Great to see the girls having fun. The ages year 7, year 8, which I think is 11 or 12, correct me if I'm wrong, and they've had great fun. I managed to catch the end of a few matches and get to know a few of the schools, especially the local schools, and I really enjoyed it. I think the women's game has spoke for itself in the last, let's say, a year or so, especially at international level, which has seeped down to the club football. We get a lot of interaction with the women's team here, and they've had a great season thus far, and we're just trying to help raise the profile and give them the credit they deserve and get the spectators down here also, because obviously we've got a large contingency of fans down here in and around this area, so we just want to raise the profile and help that. Listen, football in general, I love football, everyone loves football, so whether you're male, female, young or old, I think if we can get people out and playing, and especially Charlton, and do a lot in the community and within the schools, and giving them the platform to come here and play against different schools and meet new people as well, I think it's massive post-COVID. So I thoroughly enjoyed it myself, and I know the girls certainly did, even though they're a little bit shy at times asking questions, but when they're left to their own devices running around, they were brilliant, they enjoyed it. So got to thank the staff here, like I always say it, the community staff that put these events on are superb, so it's brilliant.
Yeah, great to see Ryan doing his usual stuff in the community. Look, we don't need to say too much about how good the community is and the players, how much work they put in, but it's great to see so many young girls playing the game, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's natural, isn't it, over the last couple of years and how football's gone, especially with the win over the summer in the tournament. I think it's escalated quite quickly. You know, I've watched women's football for a few years actually, Brighton, Platt, Crawley Town, and I've been up to watch that a couple of times, and it's gone from, you know, a splattering of people to hundreds. It is absolutely on the up and growing rather rapidly at the moment, yeah, so it's good to see.
Brilliant. Look, it is January the 1st, so should we touch on January window and what might happen? What do you think, Curbs? I mean, you know, Dean Holden and Andy Scott have both said we're going to be active in the window, so how important is it, one, that we are active, and two, that we get things right? Actually, three, we do it quickly.
Well, I did read that they were saying that they've been looking at the squad for some time before they came in, Dean. So he's got his eyes on what he wants to do. Now he's seen 3 games live, going into his 4th one today. So he's got an idea, and let's talk about that. You mentioned today, someone, Ferguson?
Yeah, Rotherham, yeah.
Rotherham, so they've got their eyes on players. And, you know, no matter if you're at the top or down the bottom, you do like to do a bit of business in the January transfer window, but I think it's imperative for us. I'm not too sure what positions, honestly I'm not, because I think we've got so many players. Just look to that bench. You know, we've got so many players now. So I'm sure there'll be a few going out as well.
Andy Scott is a very experienced guy, isn't he? He's been a manager as well as obviously recruitment. He's just come from Nottingham Forest, where a lot of money was spent there. But it's a very different, I'm not saying he can't do it, he's used to the EFL clubs as well. But it's a very different role, isn't it? What he's just had to what he's going into now.
Yeah, but in terms of the comparison, financially they're worlds apart. But in terms of wheeling and dealing, he'll know exactly what he's got to play with. And I guess Andy's got enough connections, particularly in the London area. You know, he's been down here a long time. He's worked in London a lot. And with his experiences, he'll have enough contacts to be able to wheel and deal. I said the other night, it's the stale players that need to be moved on. The ones that are just not getting enough football, the ones that are getting a little bit down about their careers, and you need to move them out and inject a bit more enthusiasm with players that are going to get into the first team, challenge players and keep them out the side. So the ones when they come out the side are desperate to get back in. I'm not sure in terms of when we start going down to maybe 19, 20, 21 in the squad, I mean, they're desperate to get back in because they just can't get back in.
Think about the injuries as well. I mean,
yeah, we've had an unbelievable list.
Egbo, you know, are they going to be fit? Are they coming back soon? Because that makes a big difference. Yeah. Really missing, I think.
Absolutely.
Right back.
In terms of numbers and even sort of a lot of quality, you'd think it's there. But you're right. We're either having the injuries or players look as if they're not going to get in. Certainly not happy where they are. How difficult is it, Curbs, to get people out? Because people talk about getting people in, and obviously that's what you want, but actually sometimes you have to get people out first to get people in. Well,
the thing is, most managers would tell you that this is not the time to do any business because you're under pressure. you perhaps got a list of players, don't get the first one, don't get the second one, and then because you're struggling, you bring in the third one that you shouldn't really want. But, you know, needs must. It's a difficult time, and I didn't like the January transfer window too often. I like to do it in the summer when it's all settled down and you know what you're trying to do and you ain't under pressure. We're under a little bit of pressure. I'm looking at, perhaps I shouldn't be saying this, but who's coming in for some of ours?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
people will be looking at
Very
ours.
good point.
People will be looking at our squad going, they need to bring players in. We might be able to nick him. We might be able to do something. So, on top of us trying to bring players in, what are we going to try and keep some of our better ones?
Yeah. You look at that side there, Scotty, and I'm going the other way here. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just going the other way. Someone comes in for Miles, some comes in for Dobson. Raksaki gets recalled. We're
in trouble.
We've got a mountain to climb. We've got to work swift and quick. But that is quite. I don't see that happening at all. But those are the things that Curbs is trying to highlight there. There will be scouts every week watching those players that we've just mentioned there. So who knows what lies ahead. Hopefully we can keep them all in. Hopefully we can, manoeuvre some players out. I think the biggest problem you have is at this point, we've got players coming out of contract in the summer, right? And clubs that maybe want them will say, well, we'll loan them off you. And they'll go, what are they on? You get told the fee, and they'll go, well, we'll give you half that. Now you've got to swallow half their wage. And then you've only got half their wage to bring somebody else in. And that's where it becomes a bit sort of muddy. Waters are muddied because you want the whole wage. You want to be, right, no, if you want him, take him. And I think as we saw in the summer, a couple of loan clubs backed out and went, no, that's what we're offering you. If you don't want to take that loan fee, that loan figure, we won't have them. And they ended up staying here and we couldn't manoeuvre them out.
So ideally, let's say that we can keep all of our players, and I agree with you, they're probably the three that we most sort of worry about in terms of losing. But let's say we can keep them. What position would you be trying to strengthen?
If I look down at that side today, I would say in both full-back areas, to be honest, and I'd almost another centre half as well, and a central midfielder. I don't mind that front three. I think that's got. At least if you look down at that sheet, Miles Lieburn, Raksaki, Scott Fraser. They're your top three scorers. At least there's goals in that team. I looked at the Oxford lineup. There was hardly any goals in it at all. Where were they coming from? At least when I look down at that, I've got Raksaki on 5-6, Miles Lieburn 6-7, Fraser on 3.
But it goes back to what I said earlier about we're missing the right back and the centre half at the moment. How far are they away from being fit? Because if they're going to be fit, because I think Egbo, for me, was doing a great job. Yeah.
So do you think Sean's not doing a good enough job in that position where you would bring someone in?
I don't think it's his position.
He's not.
It's not.
He's not defensive-minded, Scott. He just no criticism of him. The best position I've seen him in, and he hasn't had a fair crack at the whip in his supposed position. He hasn't had a fair crack at the whip in that one. So we can't even criticise or praise. But when he was right side of centre half in a back three, specifically asked to drive out with the ball, that was his best bit of form. He's not a right back for me. He's not. I looked at that movement the other night. I looked at how he defended that cross. That's not how you defend crosses as a right back. And there are multiple bits of analysis I could use where I say that's not a good position as a fullback.
In defence of him, he was a right wing back in that first half, wasn't he? But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I don't feel very positive now after that sort of transfer chat.
Big job on.
Let's go the other way. It's about results. Get a result today.
Yeah.
2 home games coming up.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm looking at today's game. I've not seen the last 2 games, but I'm looking at today's game thinking if we can get that result and the confidence comes back a bit, 2 home games coming up, it's going to be vital.
A job to do, January, keep the best players, get rid of the...
Fringy ones.
Yeah, fringy ones. I don't want to use the other phrase that we normally use.
No.
And hopefully bring in a couple of players as well. We should see that everyone's got a job on their hands, but fingers crossed it will happen. Let's move on now. And you said about you haven't seen the last couple of games, so I'm going to go Brownie heavy on this one, really. You know where we're going with this, don't you?
Yeah,
it's December, and it's a tough month, isn't it? Charlton TV, we're going to be picking the contenders for the Player of the Month award presented by Castor. So, not been easy, considering we haven't won a game.
Yeah, one of the more difficult months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we won one.
The Brighton one?
Yeah.
OK. We'll go with that. I suppose one of the positives, though, that youngsters are getting more and more first-team games, aren't they? Not quite sure all of them are ready, but at least they're getting experience.
Yeah, even that side today, right down the middle. Maynard Brewer, Lucas Ness, Selby Morgan, Miles Lieberman, all come through our ranks. So I think we've discussed this before. League One's a great division, I think, to get scholars into first teams, and normally you don't have to risk as many as we are at the same time. Normally you can do it in ones and twos, and you can put experience around those to develop them in the right manner. Normally you want to do it in a positive atmosphere as well, which we haven't had too many times. But yeah, that is good to see. I think there's been a lot of positives from the youngsters that have gone in.
Let's go through this sort of the four it's been narrowed down to. And Ashley Maynard-Brewer, I mean, he's been very good. Perhaps his last game was arguably his worst, but I think he's been very impressive since he's come in ahead of Joe and Craig.
Well, yeah, I mean, they knew that Joe was going to go off to the World Cup, so there was going to be an opportunity. But I didn't think Ashley thought it would be a chance to get in the side. He's acquitted himself very well. Yeah. Obviously, looking at the goals at the Oxford game. But other than that, he's been fantastic for us. So I think Dobson's always going to be in the frame.
Well, he will. He's another one as well, taking over the captaincy, of course.
Yeah, and you kind of get, what says on the tin with George.
Yeah.
It doesn't deviate too far away from, his levels of performance. He chucks in the odd 5 out of 10, but he bounces straight back with a 7, and then he'll chuck in a 9. So very solid, very reliable, gone down very well with the supporters, purely because of his style of play. That you need a couple of them in your side, and George is performing sort of above the levels of everybody else at the moment.
Sam Lavelle was another one, scored the winning pen at Brighton. Not playing today though.
Yeah, he's sort of been in and out, isn't he?
Yeah.
Since O'Connell's injury, he's got himself back in. No, he's done okay. I'm a bit surprised he's out today, but yeah. Dean's obviously seen other things. And then we go on to Miles, because at the start of the season, people were saying that we didn't have enough up front. And I think what was coming out of the training ground was, hold on, we got Miles. And then he burst on the scene, then took that, as you do, took the injury just at the wrong time. Now he's come back, he looks a different proposition to what we've got at the moment, with Stockley being isolated up there, can't really fashion stuff for himself. He can. As Brownie said, you can leave him up there on his own.
Do you think we can rely on him for the season? Now, has he shown enough to say that actually he's not just an 18, 19-year-old kid coming through the ranks? He's shown that we can rely? Because that was our worry at the start of the season, wasn't it? Yeah,
I just think the physical load is a worry for me. Not been in a senior side for a stretch of a whole season. Yeah, but at some point you get thrown in. We've all been there where you've been thrown in, you've been thrown in, and you have to survive. I think Miles is a survivor. I think he will continue on the path that he's on and improve. I really do. I was at West Ham. Listen, you can take this how you want, but I was at West Ham every night. Who's the one player they ask about? I see Miles Lieberman. Go on, talk to me about Miles Lieberman. And you kind of go, leave him alone.
Yeah, don't want to.
But there's the one player that wherever you go, whatever club I turn up at to do my work, Miles Lieberman, and
And I think he can play in other positions. He can go out wide. He'd do a job for you. He can play in a 2. So yeah, all the talk at the start of the season about Miles is coming through now.
Absolutely, and some as well. Okay, there are your December Player of the Month contenders presented by Castor, and you can vote for your winner by heading to cafc.co.uk now. OK, right, disappointing night on Thursday against Oxford. And Curbs, you weren't here, so you can, I suppose, sit back and just take a watch of it, really. And, it was a night to forget, Brownie, wasn't it? Or as Dean said, not to forget, lots to work on.
Yeah. Look, good block from Ness there, and I was quite critical, actually, of our defender at times, but that was a good block. But we didn't start particularly well. I don't like that. One ball beats 5 players. 5-yard slide, and he's 1v1 with our left-sided centre-half. I don't know what... Look, it's a simple goal for them. It's a really simple goal. They haven't had to do too much to score it, and we've been found wanting defensively, and that's kind of not the shape you want to see when you're struggling. You want to see us a lot more solid and compact than that. But again, it's all in front of us, but there's no pressure on the ball. They've got players spare in different areas. We don't get tight enough. We don't recognise the danger. We don't even try and make a block. And certainly the player closest to the ball doesn't. And it gets a little bit of a lucky deflection, but they deserve that. They're on the front foot. They're manoeuvring the ball right to left. They get space and time, and they get their shot off.
Yeah. We were a lot better in the second half, where, to be fair to Dean, he made changes both personnel and system, didn't he?
Yeah, but the game was over, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's easy to play, isn't it?
Well, what I'd say is, yes, it was. It was, Curbs, you're right. But we have a chance after this to go 2-2, right? And it's a well-manufactured opportunity. There's a lovely little reverse pass from Raksaki into the path of Miles, and the keeper makes a very good save. But we can't have it both ways. You know, we're saying about us missing opportunities. Maynard Brewer's made a couple of great saves as well when we've been 0-0. But if that goes in, it's 2-2. There is a momentum swing without any shadow of a doubt. But by the end of the 90 minutes, I agree. It was too much of a deficit. We were so poor first 45. The damage was done.
I think I texted you. I saw the team come through and I was a bit... This is a young side.
Yeah.
Why is it so young? You know, what was the reasoning behind it?
Yeah. And I didn't actually have an answer for you. Normally you can text something back saying, well, he's injured, this guy's not well, or whatever. I just think there was a frustration, and I just think Dean's come in and gone, right, well, I wasn't really having that, and that, so I'm going to put this player in, this player, this player in. He is, like you said, he is really learning on the job. When you looked at that team, you thought, you did actually go, it's a bit inexperienced. And it got exposed. But he did, at least he reacted at half-time. At least he made the 3 substitutions. At least that side gave it a go second half for 25 minutes. But yeah, he needs to find, as you've said, a side that can stay settled, that we can rely on and trust. Hopefully, this is the start of it.
We're just hearing news, not a change to the starting 11, but there is on the bench. For some reason, Chucks isn't on it. Daniel Kanu is.
He's obviously done something in the warm-up. So the injury that he sustained here against Brighton, which we all thought was a hamstring, probably has reoccurred. I can only assume that, can't you?
The only way you can really address this is to go, look, someone needs to take him out of the firing line, take him away. He needs to be assessed by... someone's got to pay some money to actually put him in front of the best... I don't know what, not surgeon, but the best medical advice that we can receive on how we get his body right. There's something clearly mechanically wrong within him. It keeps breaking down over and over again. And our medical team,
mentally,
and this is not a criticism of our medical team, they just can't... Maybe it is.
Maybe mentally he's so worried about his body now.
Maybe it's a psychological thing, but we need to get him the best help we can.
Let's remind ourselves of today's team, shall we? As we said, it is an attacking one. I mean, fair play to Lucas as well for being, you know, first choice ahead of Sam. But it does look good going forward. You do worry, don't you, about the sort of defensive side of things? Because certainly Scott, I think even Albie.
Albie has a habit, unfortunately. He's so honest, and he tries to work his socks off every single game. But sometimes he makes runs at the wrong time, which leaves us more exposed if the turnover comes in the wrong moment. And that's what I mean about having a good, solid shape and breaking from a good, solid shape. You don't want to... With Portsmouth away, you don't want to see him 4-5 on the edge of their box like they did Brighton. There was a reason. Brighton are a very, very good side. There's a reason we did it there. We don't need to be that compact and deep, but we do need to understand when and where to go, and when to take the risk, and when to make those runs that leave us maybe a bit exposed on the transition.
So, Curbs, what are you looking for today? Obviously, 3 points.
No, but a decent start.
Yeah.
I don't think we can afford to go one down. I think if that happens, then all the doubts are going to come back and it's going to be a tough afternoon. We need to start well.
Well, we'll have to wait and see where that happens, won't we? It's a great little stadium, isn't it? With a great atmosphere as well. And New Year's Day, it's a good time to be playing there.
Yeah, I loved playing there, and I loved playing at QPR. They were one of, not the best grounds in the world, not the best pitches in the world, but 2 of the best atmospheres. Compact at QPR, and if you're doing well, we normally packed that away end, and it was a cracking atmosphere. And the same as Portsmouth, it's always a cracking atmosphere.
Absolutely. But there's a moment's reflection there, so let's head to Fratton Park, shall we? And off the back of that, Terry Smith and Greg Stubley will pick up.
And 1970.
Thank you, gentlemen, and a Happy New Year to you all. We are about to have a moment of reflection for the loss of one of the football greats. The name of Pele is known around the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, as the whole sporting world mourns the loss of one of its icons, we invite you to celebrate his life and achievements with a minute's applause, which will end on the referee's whistle.